Okay, so for everyone watching and those on, this is being digitally recorded and broadcast on Zoom. Will be on the town website. Hold on, Josh is here too. I'm adding him.
Oh, good. Hey, Josh. Looking for my agenda.
Josh, we got you. You're on mute when without video.
There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to share this here. So nobody freak out.
Whoa.
Okay, so I have to read this for everybody. So this virtual meeting pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Hubbardston Finance Committee is being conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the Hubbardston website at www.hubbardstonma.us. No in-person attendance members of the public will be permitted, but every effort be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time, which is on this Zoom, or on the town website under videos on the left navigation. So in the event we're unable to do so despite best efforts, this will be posted on the town's website with a video recording and sound for a comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So that should happen tonight. Here is the agenda.
Joke.
We can put that up.
That's still for the 11th. That's one for the 11th.
Yes, it is. My fault. One second. So that is the agenda. It just has the wrong date on the top, which is fine.
No one is. That's not the one I posted. That isn't the one I posted.
Let's look at it one more time.
I screwed up in the posting, but I don't think so.
I think it's just the date. Everything else looks correct.
No, the one I'm looking at here on at my house.
This says February 11th.
Today is March 24th.
Yes.
And then the agenda you're posting says February 11th.
So I'm pulling it right from here.
It said February 11th on the web page, this web page.
Oh, did I? Then I'm sorry. I posted the wrong one.
So it was properly posted up here, as you can see, Finance Committee, March 24th, 2020 at 7:30.
Yeah.
Virtual meeting. The agenda just has a typo, which is allowed.
Okay. All right.
Sharing that again. Okay, and just so I'm looking at participants now, there is no one that isn't seen here in the room. If anybody comes on, I will be asking them if they want to speak and to identify themselves, just so there's max participation. Other than that, the meeting is yours, Susan.
All right. Let's see. Well, first thing I'm going to do is move that we not follow that agenda and go directly to our town administrator report. Since I don't have any minutes.
Okay, so I have a few things for you. I think first and foremost, we should address the current state of affairs in the town. So there has not been a declaration of a local emergency. The reason for that is at the time of our starting of these virtual meetings, there was no expense that we were No expense that we were expecting that would be above appropriation. However, given the governor's new order that came into effect today, we would like to increase police work, and I'm going to show you and share it with you here. Pull it up. Okay, so in talking with Chief Perrin, he sent me this memorandum, which is going to the Board of Selectmen, but I'd also like to get feedback from the Finance Committee. Essentially, what he's saying is there's a need for at least 2 officers on at all times. And based on that, the need to go to 12-by-12 shifts. And the reason for that is a potential increase in domestic violence calls, potential increase in mental health, officer safety, providing a higher level of service, and more patrolling and security for folks. So this would last until the governor lifts the stay-at-home order, which right now is April 7th. This comes with a cost of about $1,000 a day. So this would exceed our appropriations for FY 2020. Not saying that we would need additional funds at this point, but would like the Finance Committee support in bringing that to the Board of Selectmen.
Would we be doing a reserve transfer? What would we be doing here?
So we would see if if it could be absorbed in the regular budget, because obviously we don't know the time frame. If it couldn't, we would be looking to do first interdepartment transfers to cover this, maybe from snow and ice we didn't
Right.
use.
Mhm.
If this goes past April 7th, given that we still have 90 days in this fiscal year, we would have to have a different conversation.
Okay, so we're talking 14 days, right?
Ish, yeah.
To the 7th. Okay. How much money does FinCom have in the reserve?
About 14,000 at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go around the room. I support it.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay. Do you want to vote, or do you, or is this consensus of support good enough, Ryan?
It would be good to have a support for the declaration of a local emergency from the Finance Committee, and all votes virtually need to be roll call.
Can I actually ask one question too, Ryan? Is there any similar plan for EMS at all?
We did ask all departments to weigh in, and we haven't gotten anything back. We don't expect there to be any additional at this point, but things keep changing every day. So we're really trying to stay within the appropriations. We're working remotely. Everything's kind of the same, but as things evolve and we need to do more to respond to this crisis, obviously more costs come up. And I think everyone understands that.
Sure.
Right. Well, I'm thinking then perhaps we do, shall we do something a little broader than just indicating support for the, for police, but broaden it perhaps to public safety generally, which I would expect would include EMS. Is that helpful?
Yeah, we've also, I'm trying to think of all expenses related. We're keeping track in case there's state or federal grant money, which we expect there to be.
Yeah.
But we are sanitizing the building on Thursday using something called EnviroShield. So everything will get sprayed down as sort of a reset on the municipal building space. And then we are authorizing extra hours for our town custodian to wipe down doorknobs, basically to control all touch points. And we've removed as much of the town personnel from the offices as we can to still function. So there is some expenses there in trying to keep up, but we don't expect them to go crazy. So we really haven't exceeded appropriation yet, which is why we haven't brought it to you yet.
Okay. Is a third party coming in to do the cleaning, or is that something we're doing ourselves?
It'll be a third party.
Okay.
So DPW, library basement, Slade, and senior center police, and 5 police vehicles as well.
Okay. All right. So we need what? A motion to support to support.
Increased staffing.
To support increased public safety measures and the local declaration of emergency, I think would cover it.
Okay, so the select board is going to issue a declaration of emergency? Is that what this is about?
So the Board of Health Chair has approved or has recommended, the emergency director and myself have recommended. The Board of Selectmen will be talking about it tomorrow.
Okay.
From all indications would support it.
Okay. All right, so our motion then would be to likewise to recommend the declaration and support it, and to support the request of the police department at this point, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second it. Oh, sorry.
Okay, Shannon wins that one. All right, any further discussion? All right, so now we'll do a roll call.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Susan Rain and I vote yes.
I'm Joshua Lerner and I vote yes.
Chuck, excuse me, Chuck Reed, I vote yes.
Shannon Erb, I vote yes.
All right, the vote is unanimous. I'm trying to write all this down. All right.
All right, do you want to talk about Maria, or do you want to keep going? I'm sure she might want to stay, but she might not, so.
Let's talk about Maria. Hi, Maria. Tell us something about-
Hello.
So Maria sent this, I'm going to share it with you. This well-written letter of interest to the select board. As you know, I like to come to the committee for their recommendation prior to recommending to the select board for filling the vacancy. She's here, so you can obviously ask her question, but she has some accounting experience, and in talking to her, wanted to be involved or get involved with the town, especially in this particular case, a temporary appointment to see if a more permanent interest was there in the coming election. So we're bringing to you Maria. Help me pronounce it again. Tarigny?
Tarigny, yes.
I got it. Okay, Maria Tarigny for a potential vacancy fill on the Finance Committee, vacated by Dave when he moved and abandoned us.
Yeah,
Is that what happened? He moved?
we're almost over it.
Moved to Florida.
He did, yeah. He had a great job opportunity. We were very sad to lose
Yeah.
him, but
Yes, yep. Well, Maria, welcome to our meeting, and
Thank you.
what can we answer for you?
Well, I wondered what happened to the member. Now I know. And I won't be moving anytime soon.
Good.
So I'm just not sure what exactly the committee does. Ryan did explain some things and that you meet just a couple of times. So it doesn't sound too involved, but you never know.
Well, right now, this is budget season, so we're going to meet. We're meeting now. We'll probably, well, who knows what we're going to do after that.
normally, yeah, we would.
I have no idea. I mean, ordinarily we would meet one more time here probably, and then there would be a public budget hearing. I have no idea what is happening. So so that's and in any event, at this point, at least until the 7th, and my guess would be perhaps longer, this will be the style of meeting going forward. We aren't going to meet in person. So so that's where we're at. We are right now I mean, at this point in time, aside from trying to figure out how to manage the rest of 2020, the big challenge for the town and for all of the Quabbin Regional School District member towns is dealing with the large budget ask from the district for the schools. So that's the challenge before us.
Okay, I'd like to tag along if I could.
Sure. That sounds good.
Great.
Good.
Now you're on Streeter Road.
Yeah,
I'm on
she's-
Streeter Road, yeah.
Did you
She's-
bring her? Did you talk her into this?
No, I did not talk her into it, but she is a neighbor.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. All right. Well, that sounds good to me. Happy to have you aboard.
Thank you. I work at a bank and starting today, I'm going in every other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sharing the job, so we're down
Yeah.
2 people, so it's
Yeah.
interesting. I'll
I
say that.
bet. I bet. So we don't usually meet this late. We usually under normal circumstances we meet at 6:30.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and we try to aim for we aim for when Ryan tells us he needs us. That's how that's the regularity of our meeting.
Okay, that's good.
And perhaps after June, assuming that
We're back to normal.
life returns to something like normal, then the frequency of our conversation will drop down to once a quarter.
Oh, very
then-
good.
Yeah, and then barring some exigency, and then right around December, January, budget season starts again, and things start to get interesting. So the meeting frequencies will pick up some of that.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So the select board would be looking for a recommendation.
I will take a motion.
So I'll make a motion to recommend Maria Terigni to be appointed to the Finance Committee.
Yep, it would be appointed.
Second.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Susan Rain, yes.
Shannon Erb, yes.
Joshua Lumber, yes. Oh, sorry.
Chuck Reed, yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for joining.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Should know
Maria.
tomorrow at the Board of Selectmen meeting. So
Thank you very much. Now we've got our magic number back, and we're back in business. So that's great. Thanks very much, Maria.
Thank you.
okay, so I'm going to continue on and share a report you're now familiar with, which is the budget versus actual. I think this is really important for a couple reasons. So one, we should always be tracking our expenses. Two, we're going to take a revenue hit, and we don't know what that revenue hit's going to be based off of everything that's going on. And I think everybody understands that. So really all we have control over now is our expenses. So we want to make sure that we're tracking those the best we can. And if this is a short duration thing, which by all indications it does not seem to be, but if it is, then, it's one conversation with revenue. If it's a long-term thing, we're really tracking what the state's going to do to assist municipalities, because our revenue projections, although conservative for next year, would be blown out of the water by this type of life event. So,
Right.
so understanding where we are is important. So we're through, this report is through February, as you can see at the top, February 29th. So 8 out of 12 months, or approximately 66% of the way through. So just going to point out some key indicators for you on the budget. Stop me at any time. I'll be moving through quickly, and we can discuss it after, of course. So anything with a blue means it's past or above the 66% where we'd expect to be right now. Anything in green I'll describe as where we expect to have some savings, and anything in red is where we're worried about some need to fill the hole somewhere, and I'll explain that. So under Selectmen employee support, that is just something that gets spent by this time of year. We have plenty of money in other Selectmen lines, and we should see a turn back, as you see in the green. So that's primarily from legal services. This committee and myself, we put on some strong legal support control measures, and we are we're less than 20,000 at this point in the year, much less than 20,000. We have 40,000 appropriated, so we're in good shape in terms of our legal budget. Also should note that KP Law has done a tremendous job providing free support during this crisis and has been sending us lots of information interpreting what the state's doing. So kudos to them. And we appreciate it.
Right.
Okay, so town administrator, just moving right down the blue check mark. So employee support, that's employee recognition, my own professional development, and cell phone stipend. We're in no danger there, especially since I won't be doing any trainings or travelings at any point soon. Finance committee support, we talk about that a lot. Accountant supplies, it's really just a one-time purchase. We think that'll stay the same. Same thing for assessor employee support. That's just annual dues. That number shouldn't change at all.
Right.
Treasurer collector, that's payroll and other services. We're just a little bit ahead in billing, so no worries there. Scrolling to the next one, information technology. We are tracking that one. We believe we have enough to cover the remainder of the year. We've been aggressive with our capital purchases to try and limit the impact on the capital plan. I'm not worried about that number, although it's going to be right on the dollar, I think.
Okay.
Town clerk, we have a new town clerk. We've been investing in her professional development, and it's been working. So again, that's going to slow now that things have changed, so we're not worried about that number. Moving down to zoning board of appeals, that's just a stipend and plenty of room to cover anything they need under their supplies line. They haven't touched it yet. Okay, building maintenance, this services line, you know, we've been hitting this heavy all year. That was the senior AC. We even moved some money in there from the FinCom.
Yeah.
We did the ramp.
Yeah.
We just had a lot of stuff this year. In fact, the furnace went in the Slade building today. Very small, minor repair, but it just keeps happening to us.
Okay.
Even when there's no one there. So just mark that as red because we're going to be spending a couple thousand to clean and sanitize everything as we think we should for employee safety. So that line is just under a lot of pressure.
Okay.
Personnel costs for the police. This is because of the memo that we discussed. We don't think they would go over appropriation for the year, except we're going to increase the patrolling now based off the governor's order. So who knows what's going to happen with that line at this point. Their services line is maxed out. That's the car repairs that this board assisted with. Our fleet is fully functional. We have our new police cruiser now, so we're ready to go, but we have maxed that line out, as you know.
Right.
Fire employee support, this is contractual stuff we pay out this time of year, and they have money in their other accounts, so we're not expecting any overage. Building, this one looks really high, circling it here, 90%. Building personnel, that's because we combined that position for Mallory. So once this is exhausted, we'll flip over to the health line, which has plenty to cover for the rest of the year. So not going to go over.
All right.
Brian, just a quick maybe question and or comment when you were talking about the fire supplies with obviously the pandemic going on. I don't know if you've been reading in the news about shortages of material, like, you know, safety materials and safety protective equipment, if their supplies of that and also their need to obtain more would be that the current numbers is sort of taking that into account.
So I've talked to the fire chief and would obviously want him to talk to you based on his expertise. But I told everyone I need early flags if you need stuff,
Okay.
especially based off the crisis, and he has said he has not needed it. In terms of like personal PPE, personal protective equipment, people have been very generous, and the police chief has been very active in getting donations for police and fire. So we feel comfortable where we are now.
Okay, great. That's great.
But definitely something to track for sure, and something I'm worried about.
Okay.
But we will not let our employees go without unless you know, we have to. So we're doing the best we can there.
Right.
Okay, animal control, that's contractual. We've just paid through the third quarter. Moving down to dispatch, you see the blue and the green. This is paid in its entirety. So that is extra money, unappropriated money that we can use elsewhere or
Good.
turn into free cash. Schools all paid through the third quarter.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about there.
Right.
DPW, that services line, that's the road maintenance line we talk about a lot. They're over expenditure. They're going to be over expenditure. We'll likely try and cover it with other DPW monies during the transfer period. So we're not overly concerned, but I'm just calling it out.
Why are they over?
They don't have enough money to do the road patching they need to do, as we know. So they spend a lot of it in the fall, and then it has to slow down in the spring or be covered by other expenses. So normally we prioritize the road stuff and other stuff falls off, but we don't know where that's going to be until the spring.
Okay.
We've also pulled back, as many local towns have done, our DPW for now during this order until we get a clarity on how long the order is going to last from the governor. And then we would employ sort of a modified schedule for our DPW. And that might obviously slow down expenses as well too. So just something to watch, but not overly worried about it right now.
Ryan, another quick question. Will there be any cost savings from the schools because they are closed at all? Is there any possibility of that?
We wouldn't see it
Okay.
because the assessment won't change. If they
Okay.
do have a savings, which most of their money is personnel, and they haven't stopped paying their personnel. It's all been budgeted. So if there was a savings, it would turn into their free cash or their E&D.
Mhm.
So certainly a conversation the school committee needs to have, but we won't see it. So
Okay.
we shouldn't expect it, and it's not anything that other schools aren't doing as well.
Right.
But it's a good question.
Okay.
All right, moving down, snow and ice. If there's been any good news so far this year in 2020, it's that snow and ice has come in well under budget, which is good. So we have that money earmarked for making sure that our salt shed is filled for next year so that we can be ahead of anything that might come next year. That's standard practice.
Okay.
And then these numbers don't include this last snowstorm, which was, we had to call people in, but it wasn't overly heavy. And this is money we're kind of eyeing for anything we might have to do with police and fire.
Okay, good.
So we might be able to cover ourselves, but again, we want to let the situation evolve, but we are looking at that as a potential source. Streetlights, it's right on, so not, we'll be under for the year on that for sure. Cemetery, they do a lot of their work and supplies in the fall, so they won't be looking for much in the spring.
Okay.
Board of Health, you'll see that number for personnel is at 31. So to cover Mallory, that's where that will come from on the building side, which is why I'm not worried about that.
Right.
Their supplies line was, they've dropped that a lot in this year's budget request. As you see, they don't need a lot of supplies and they have a revolving fund. So it's a little bit of money to use there.
Okay.
Not a ton. The senior center's over because Claudia takes January and February off. So she works more in the fall and then more in the spring. So that number will catch up. And then their supplies is right on as well. It's just a little bit over.
Let me ask a question generally. What are the seniors doing now? What arrangements have they made for themselves? Do you know?
So when Yes, I can go over that in detail. So when Claudia's there, comes back, which is soon, she will be manning the desk and making sure our seniors are covered in a reduced capacity and a virtual capacity, but she will be working to make sure senior services continue. The mock meals, instead of coming to the senior center, are being delivered directly to the seniors. So the Meals on Wheels is still happening.
Okay.
We have local volunteers who are going and offering to go get medications and groceries for people who can't leave. Mart is still running for groceries and medical only, which is our local transit.
Mhm.
And egg delivery and produce delivery is still happening at the town offices, but they are 6 feet apart, not to be near each other, and to be outside, not in the senior center.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So we're doing the best we can to continue senior services. Obviously, as orders keep getting more strict, we're going to be able to do less and less, but those have all been exempted, so we feel good continuing them.
Okay, all right, good, thanks.
All right, so not much left. Whoop. There we go. Okay, long-term debt. These are just debt payments that'll be coming up in the spring. We appropriately budgeted for that, so we're not worried about it.
Okay,
Moving down to this line, Worcester Retirement, you know we paid that in full to get the great 1% discount, so that money is still sitting there for use.
good.
Health insurance, we have that cushion. We have not needed that cushion, so that money's there for use. And liability insurance, this is if we have any what are they called, physicals or anything that needs to come out of this line, there's still some money there, but overall we think we'll be well under, well, not well under, but there'll be a little pot of money there. When I say little pot, I mean it's really little compared to the budget. 2,000 compared to a $9 million budget.
Right, but I'm thinking of that as these little dribs and drabs to fund the police.
Yep. So normally we would look at those types of savings for free cash so we can fund our capital plan. But in a state of emergency, you need all those dollars to fund services and keep things going.
Right, okay.
Okay, so this library, the capital project list that you see here, everything in green is we're done paying for. So all of that money is going to turn back to the general fund and be free cash for next year's project. So
With the library roof, we have 30 grand?
yes.
Oh, wow.
So that, if you remember, we got the state earmark, which we weren't expecting. So that was 100,000, and then the costs were well over what we thought they would be. So with the override, so the remaining money is 32,000.
Sweet.
So we got that extra 100,000, but it ended up being about 68,000 more than we thought. So 32,000 remains, and we're done with that project. So that'll be returned to the general fund.
That's awesome. Okay, great. Yeah,
Combined, there's enough money there to make me feel good about where free cash might be next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And that's so if you look at it, it's hard to see here at the end, but general fund is at right here. Can you see me circling it with the mouse?
Yeah.
So we should be at 66. We're at 68.57. A lot of that is because of the school spending. So we're in good shape in terms of where we are with expenses.
Good.
The rest of it is revolving and other funds that we track for sure, but are not really in this purview.
When are we going to know what the revenue situation is? When's the next tax payment roll in?
So besides me thinking about it as I'm falling asleep, I don't, we really don't know. Like, we won't know anything about anything until the 7th. By then, the state will tell us whether or not these orders will continue, which we think they will, where the schools are. We're just in this lockdown mode for a good reason, to try and flatten the curve. And then we're getting information every day about what might happen, but it's all speculation at this point. So,
all right.
But I will say we are getting feedback from the state in terms of, and this is stuff we should know about the 20 budget and the 21. So transitioning a little bit. there is a chance that town meeting and the election gets pushed.
Right,
So ours is so late, by law, it has to be done by June 30th in order for it to take effect. So there's a chance, and I don't want to speculate too much, but we are passing a 1/12 budget like we think about sometimes with the school based
right,
off last year's appropriation until such time that we can pass an actual budget.
right,
That's all being talked about. We're slowly getting guidance from the state and from our legal advice on what that's going to look like. So that's why I say I don't really know where we're going to be revenue wise. But we've stopped doing inspections. You know, taxes are going to get pushed off. We're going to try and give people relief on interest penalties and interest for some of these payments coming up because everybody's doing that, and I think we should. So that means that we're going to get less money than we expected, and we, unfortunately, in an economic downturn, people don't pay bills, so our
Right.
revenue's going to be light.
right. Well, that's what I was thinking. All right. Okay,
So we also, as part of my report here, all of you, I'm guessing, have seen, I sent it out to, so I know you have, the town administrator's budget, which was presented. You saw it before I presented it. That is our current budget stance. So, and obviously, I know it seems like a year and a half ago now.
now,
I have that up and available if there's any questions on it, or if you want me to comment on what I think might happen, or what the committee wants. But I can tell you right now, the school committee hasn't met yet. The schools are frantically trying to cover how to conduct school virtually, right? So they're not thinking about the budget right now, and I don't
Right.
blame them.
right,
So the budget is at a complete screeching halt. So
right. Well, I guess it's their move, right?
yeah, I mean, it is the only number we don't know right now.
Right.
So besides revenue, of course, but it's the only one on the expense side that we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
except for dispatch. I might have info on dispatch. Remember that assessment came in really high. We said we would try and address that. So we have a meeting tomorrow and we should get more information for you. We expect that number to come down, but that's not a budget game changer. So
Okay.
maybe 10, 15,000 there, which is nice, but not going to solve our budget deficit. Also, something to consider, the more we look to cover current expenses and cover emergency expenses, the less money we'll have for free cash and capital. So we'd have to take a look at our capital plan as well in some instances.
Right. Right. Well, I would think first things first.
Keep everyone safe. Next thing.
Yeah, we'll do first things first and then see what we have left over.
So if any of you have any questions about the budget process or what we're looking at, fire away. We have guidance coming at us every second. So
Okay, good. I don't have any.
No.
I have none.
I think we're
Okay.
just wait and see.
So that's where we are for FY20.
Okay.
Still some unknown for FY20 and still looking at FY21, but the world has changed since we last met. So
Yep. Okay.
that is my report.
All right. Very good. What else did I have on my agenda? Nothing, right?
Let's see.
I don't, I'd have to shrink my screen here. What did I say?
Except if you have minutes,
No, I don't have any minutes.
then yeah, that was,
And that's it. When, okay, any other business? Anybody?
Hearing,
The only question I had is when, I know the elections, we don't know what's going on, but what about when we have to file? For,
Good question. So, we just got guidance about it today from Lori and I got it from town council for free, which I keep plugging them. I do appreciate that they're helping us out during this.
Yep, that's good.
Um,
I take it all back.
So it's odd because most or a lot of towns have April and May town meetings and elections. So
Oh.
we have a late one in June. So everybody's being asked to push their stuff to June and the end of June to see where the world's going to be. But we're already there. So Lori and I are recommending that we just wait maybe a month to see where we're at. So the only thing that might change is how do you do nomination papers? How do you file? All right, so those details are still coming out. We think everything will stay the same. We're thinking about measures like we'll give you 25 nomination papers. So you can get each one signed individually, or how do you do it virtually? A lot of these questions are still out there, but we will run elections and we will have answers very soon. In terms of the town meeting warrant, it is open right now. We are getting articles and stuff to put together, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to finalize that in April like we normally do. So that's probably going to get pushed to May to be discussing the town meeting warrant. And the biggest worry on that is the school roof, because that's going to require a ballot question.
That's right.
And this is a tough year to be asking the town to support such a big project, but we don't have a choice, as we keep saying. This is a big project that needs to get done. So we are thinking about these things. We're trying to get answers and give good recommendations, but it is going to be pushed off. And then we're trying for Plan Z, which is what happens if nothing opens up by June.
Right.
Which, Josh, you're on the front lines. I know you know some of this stuff. I just don't know when things will be lifted. The information from the federal government is different from the state, is different from other municipalities. So we're all preparing for the best and the worst at the same time.
Yeah. I think people are talking about 6 months, 6 to 9 months from now. So yeah, this is going to go, so I would think, through the summer.
Right.
To be clear, the official town of Hubbardston stance right now is April 7th.
Right.
To make a decision at a later date.
Right.
2021?
2020, April 7th.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. I think April 7th will be in the thick of it. And so I think there'll be a push to keep that going.
Right.
And I think rightfully so. This is all speculation, but information and discussion is good. The school piece has to be decided first, and then everything else.
Yeah.
So a lot of energy is going towards what to do with the students and what to do with the school calendar and how to do all of that. And then I think everything else will backfill pretty quickly once those decisions are made. So will there be school? Will it be extended? What will it look like?
Could really cut down on transportation costs.
yeah, yep. That was a big increase from last year.
Well, they had already given it a haircut this year in the budget. I was surprised at how volatile that number seems to be.
And it's a good question because a lot of those are contracts.
Right.
So a lot of that's being discussed. Do you still owe the contract money? A lot of that is dedicated towards salary, right? So you want to make sure everybody's whole. I've ordered that all of our part-time employees be engaged, that all of our employees receive their pay to try and support families and the work that needs to be done during this time. Everyone's trying to do that, but it's going to have, decisions are going to have to be made. Are the contracts enforceable, right? Because there is a lot of transportation costs, but it is already appropriated and contracted, so.
Well, usually there's force majeure clauses in some of this stuff. That's where all the action is now legally for contracts based on what I'm reading. So that makes things interesting, but also unstable.
And probably something we won't see till 21, right? So.
That's right. That's right. All righty. All right, any other business? All right, we all set, Ryan?
Yeah, I just want to say this is the first virtual finance committee meeting in Hubbardston history, so your names are on something.
Is it the first virtual meeting period or just finance committee meeting?
The town center committee was the sacrificial lamb, so
Okay,
we made a big deal out of that one.
okay.
That's all
But
right.
you guys are prepping the field for the Board of Selectmen tomorrow and the planning board next week, so
All right.
government continues.
We'll get better ratings from now on. All right, how about a motion to adjourn?
Motion
I'll
to adjourn.
make the motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor, roll call. Susan Rain, yes.
Shannon Erb, yes.
Josh Lerner, yes.
Chuck Reed, yes.
All right, thank you, everybody. 8:19 PM.